everybody. Hey, everybody. It's me, Delores, the pastor's daughter. And first and foremost, I want to apologize. Okay. I want to apologize because I have been meaning to do this review for a few days now, and I've had to postpone on you guys twice already. Yesterday, I promised you guys that we was going to do a review of this book, and my body said no. Okay, like my body said, no, ma'am, we're not finna do it today. Okay, so I was in the bed all day yesterday. I had aches, I had migraines, and my shoulder was hurting too yesterday. I could barely like lift my arm. So I just rested for the most part and, just said, I would just come and see y'all tomorrow, if my body cooperates, and we'll get started on the review. So, you guys, we are here, okay? We are going to start the review of this book, The Hitman and the Preacher. Okay, The Hitman and the Preacher. So, we are getting ready to analyze this book. And so I want to just kind of introduce this as a book reading / book review / discernment deep dive, because I believe that you're going to be enriched by this process. Now, I'm not saying that the contents of the book are what's going to enrich you. What I'm saying is that the process is all about the process in this situation, in this, and at least how I am presenting this information. Because my ultimate goal is for you to activate your gift of discernment and to really work that muscle. And I believe that the best way to do that is to have real life examples, real life cases where you really challenge your ability to discern and and your ability to analyze, and you really just practice that muscle so that in your own life you can see the deception, the control, the manipulation, and you can kind of see how that plays out. The crazy part about it is a lot of these people, they repeat the same behaviors. You'll see a lot of the same patterns, which lends me to believe that this is a lot more spiritual than a lot of us are really willing to admit or to acknowledge. And we think that it's all a mental health issue. Um, and sometimes we kind of like dismiss this what we see in front of us, the behaviors, the actions, the damage. We dismiss it because it's like it's mental health. And when we say that, there's an implication that there is nothing that we can do about it. So essentially, that gives people a get out of jail free card. It gives them an alibi. It gives them an excuse for their behavior. But if we think about things on a spiritual level, which ultimately everything is, then we start to realize that this is much deeper than we knew, right? Because things happen in the spiritual realm, and we see them playing out in the natural. And so I believe that we'll be able to see and analyze how things are playing out in the spiritual realm and how we're kind of seeing that in real life, even in the people that we love, we honor, we respect, that was there with us growing up, was instrumental in our development, and we still see that even those people that we love and respect are um, heavily demonically influenced, and that is ultimately what it boils down to. But even when we acknowledge it for its natural sense, like it being mental illness, or in the spiritual sense being a demonic force, then like what does that exactly mean for us? What does that mean for the believer? What does that mean for the discerner? What it means is that we are smarter about how we move, how we interact with people like this. We are smarter about the things that we do, the decisions that we make, right? Because we acknowledge that there are evil forces, there are good forces in this world as well, right? And so it just is a smart way to be, to like look out for these things that could potentially harm us and harm the ones that we love, and be smarter about how we move about in the world, knowing that there are a lot of demonic forces out there, or if you want to call it mental illness, then there are a lot of mentally ill people out there. And so the best thing that you can do is to control you and use your gift of discernment to protect you and to protect the ones that you love. So this is a book reading / book review. Hold on, let me make sure you guys can hear me good. Your ability to discern. Okay. Please make sure that you like the video. And so yeah, so we're doing a book review, book reading on The Hitman and the Preacher. And you guys, this is my father here, a religious narcissist who I went no contact with in August of 2019. But yeah, there has been still a bit of a back and forth between us. And especially you can see that played out in this, in his book, which he wrote in response to my book, The Pastor's Daughter Provoked. And so let me give you let me let you see what that book looked like. So that's The Pastor's Daughter Provoked. It came out in March of 2022, I believe. And so now she's 3 years old. And my father has just released his book in response to this book. And that is the book that we will be analyzing in this book review and reading. So I want you to think about this as a case, right? We're analyzing a case, and we're going to do a deep dive into this book, a book that was written by a man who knows deception all too well. And he knows it all too well because he practiced it for years, decades. So this isn't just a reading. This is a discernment exercise. It's like a live investigation into manipulation, into half-truths, and to really rewriting history. So y'all, I got my handy dandy notebook. I've got my handy dandy steno notebook, and we're going to be taking notes as we go through this book, because we will be analyzing the book for specific things. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, like I said, I wrote The Pastor's Daughter Provoked, which exposed the truth about deception and spiritual abuse. And this was deception and spiritual abuse that I endured at the hands of my father. So instead of repenting, instead of correcting, instead of even staying silent, he decided to write his own book, The Hitman and the Preacher. So some might see this as just another story. But those of us who have discernment know that every book has an agenda. Every word has a purpose. So we're not just reading, we're analyzing. We are breaking down what we see. Or we're breaking it down to see what's being said and what's not being said. And we're looking for the deception that's kind of interwoven into the story. So I wrote down a plan here of how we'll go about analyzing this book. And so from what I saw, this book has 11 chapters. And so we're going to tackle them one by one. And we'll read excerpts, then we'll pause and analyze it together. Okay. And then I'll give my breakdown, and I want to hear from y'all. Like, I want to hear the discerning message. Like, what are you getting? What are you hearing? What is your discernment telling you? So here's what we're going to be looking for. Manipulation tactics. Is the author, my father, well, okay, at least the author on paper, okay, is the author playing the victim? Is he gaslighting? Is he twisting the truth? Is he twisting narratives? Are we hearing contradictions and inconsistencies? So does the story align with the facts? Does it align with previous statements that he's made? Okay. Then we're looking for and listening for emotional manipulation. So is he trying to, or does he try to elicit some type of sympathy from you, from the reader? Is he trying to get you to feel guilty? Does he paint himself as some type of misunderstood hero? Then we're listening for omissions and strategic wording. What is left unsaid? What details are conveniently vague? And then we'll have discernment pauses throughout the reading where I'll ask you key questions and I'll give you time to process it and respond. So, y'all, we're going to really like take our time with this. Okay. So, guys, make sure that you like and share the video because if you know someone that can really use a deep dive into discernment, then this is their opportunity to really dive in. Okay. And so we want to recognize where the deception is. We want to know where it's showing up. And so here are some quick key questions that we're going to be asking, okay, you guys? Who benefits from this version of the story? Okay? So now you have available to you two sides of the story. Now some say there's two sides, some say there's three sides, and some say there's more than that. But right now, you have two sides of the story, which a lot of people don't have that benefit, right? So you have the benefit of hearing both my side of the story and his. So who benefits from the story? Every narrative, every story serves somebody. So who is this book trying to protect? Who is this book trying to elevate? Who is this book trying to discredit? Okay. The next thing that we'll be looking for, or the next question that we have in our minds here is, where is the accountability? Does my father take any accountability or responsibility at all? Does he shift the blame? The next question, what emotions is he trying to evoke? Like what is he trying to get us, like what is he trying to get us to feel? Some type of fear, some type of sympathy, some type of justification. What are we feeling? What is he trying to get us to feel by the way he's telling this story? Then our next question is, what's missing? Because what we know, right, is that sometimes the silence is just as loud or louder than words. What details are being left out? The details that you may need that would either change the story or change your perception, change your judgment, and change your ultimate discerning decision. And then lastly, what does this teach us about deception? Because ultimately, we want our discernment to be the counterattack to deception. Anytime deception is coming at us, discernment is our weapon. So what is this story teaching us about deception? How does this book serve as a case study for manipulation and rewriting history? What is the discerning message that you are getting from the story? So this is more than a book review. This is more than a book reading. This is ground zero, training ground for discernment. And by the time we're done, y'all, you'll walk away sharper, smarter, wiser, and more confident in your ability to spot deception whenever it happens and whoever it comes through. So let's go ahead and get into this cover, okay? Listen, let's get into the cover. Now, you know, people always tell you, do not judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover, right? But when it comes to this cover, right? And when it comes to a religious narcissist, a deceiver, a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Then you take that quote, don't judge a book by its cover, and then you kind of got to throw that out the window. Because the mask, the cover, what we see on the outside, what we see on the surface, may let us know a lot about what and who we are dealing with. I'm sorry, I'm turning this phone on. Okay. So now let's take a look at this cover. Let's analyze this. Okay. So what we see here is a man, white suit, okay? White suit, sitting in a throne chair. Okay? So he's sitting in a throne chair. This picture I happen to know because I've seen it in other places. He posts this picture a lot because I believe he really likes this picture of himself. But he's sitting in a throne chair and he's seated inside. So he's inside of a building and he has on sunglasses. So he's sitting in a throne chair, and this throne chair is, I happen to know, is placed in the pulpit of his church. So he's sitting in a throne chair in the pulpit of his church, white from head to toe, with sunglasses on, indoors. Then he has a target beside him. And so when you think about it like that, you take the whole don't judge a book by its cover trope, right? And then you think about like this cover, then you're like, hold on, let me just take a minute, let me take it all in. Let me see what I'm looking at here. Let me analyze what I'm looking at here. Okay? So let's take the throne chair, right? Let's break this down piece by piece. Okay? So the throne chair is possibly him positioning himself as some type of authority, some type of dominant ruler, central figure, king, something along those lines, some type of important figure. Okay? So you could possibly interpret this to be some type of assertion of power, control, maybe some sort of importance, grandiose, lavish, you know, especially when you take in the color scheme of it all. Then he's wearing the sunglasses, right? Sunglasses are typically worn outdoors, right? To protect you from bright light from the sun. So wearing them indoors conveys some type of detachment, right? It's some type of attempt to create a barrier. And you know they say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. And his sunglasses are especially dark. You cannot see his eyes at all. So is this an attempt to create some type of barrier, some type of a guard that prevents the discerner from being able to see what is behind his eyes? Okay? Let's think about this. Now, it also could be seen as a way to appear mysterious, right? Maybe even a little intimidating. And then we move over to the target, right? So we have the target that is near his face, and one could surmise, could, come to some type of conclusion that this may symbol that he feels targeted, that he feels that he has been the object of some type of disservice, some type of wrong treatment, some type of what is it? Where he has been somehow made the victim. And you have to think about a target, right? Because a target doesn't mean that um that somehow you've gotten hit by some type of crossfire, or that you were somehow unintended. No, that is a specific intention. A target is a specific intention and a focus on a specific thing or individual. So him having this target right next to him could somehow symbolize that not only is he targeted, right? Not only is he the focus of something, but he is deliberately focused. Because a target being on you means that someone is deliberately focused on you for a specific purpose. And is the purpose is usually to end you. So what is the message that he is trying to convey here by having the target partially on himself? I mean, it's on himself, right? He's got the target on himself. And it's just slightly off, which means that the target, either he wasn't the intended target because it's not on him directly. Maybe it was somebody beside him who was really the intended target. Or one could surmise that the target was off, that whoever was behind, whoever was focusing on him to target him, missed him. Okay. So I know that's a lot, y'all. I know that's a lot. And this is my discernment process. It's a lot to take in. But we have to analyze it and take it down to its lowest common denominator, because that's how we're able to determine where the deception is. So when you think about these things isolated, right? Maybe they don't mean much, right? We got the throne chair, sitting in a throne chair. I mean, it's a chair, right? We've got the target. It's a target. Goes along with the title of the book. He's got the sunglasses, the the whole body language, the demeanor of it all, right? We've got that. So maybe taking in isolation these individual uh points of consideration, right? But when you put them all together, the collective of the throne chair, the sunglasses indoors, the target, the body language, the seated stance, the smile, the entire collective of this whole picture. Okay. Then you have to go a little bit deeper in your analytical process and ask yourself, is this person trying to paint a picture? Does he perceive himself as someone who has been targeted, perceives himself as an authority, as someone great, someone important? Yet he's under attack. Yet there are these forces. What are these forces? And so then my question now becomes, after analyzing this much, right? Just the cover of it all, is that, is the hitman and the preacher one and the same? Is the hitman and the preacher the same man? And if the hitman is not, and the preacher is not the same man, then who is behind the hitman? Because what we see here, that there is a heavy focus on the hitman, it's the hitman and the preacher, but who is behind the hitman? Because a hitman, by everything we know about hitmen, is that these are contract killers who are there to do a specific purpose, to do a specific thing, right? Which is kill someone for a specific person who hired them to do it. But by all accounts, they have no attachment to neither who they are about to hit, and the person who hired them to do the hit. So why is there this focus on the hitman instead of the employer of the hitman? Y'all not ready for this, honey. Because what the deceiver did not intend for us to do, i.e., aka my father, okay? What the deceiver, my father, did not intend for us to do is break it down to the lowest common denominator. And I believe, this is my prediction, that we will see that the lowest common denominator is this man right here on the screen. That it all is going to, it's all going to add up, okay? It's all going to come right back down to him. So, like, let's take the hitman and the preacher, right? Because these are supposed to be totally opposites, right? I mean, like, how can you get any more opposite than this, than a preacher and a hitman? So then, like, my juices get to going. Like, I get a little curious about it, right? And I'm just like, well, hold on. What is the relationship between these two people? And surely, if he is not both the hitman and the preacher, then him being a preacher, we know he's a preacher. What we didn't know was the hitman piece. Because all while growing up, he told me that the hit, or the hitman, which wasn't even clear, was family. Specifically, Bishop Haddon, which we all know to be Dietrich Haddon's father. So these are two seemingly totally different individuals, right? We have the hitman and the preacher. So it almost is like there is a suggestion in the title that either he is both the hitman and the preacher, and that possibly this is an attempt to seek redemption, maybe from his past life of being a hitman. And that maybe there is this internal conflict within him between his morality, his faith, his identity, and maybe his true character. Then on another side of things, you got to think, okay, the hitman and the preacher, does the story somehow indicate that they have crossed paths? that maybe they have somehow influenced each other's lives in some unexpected ways. That maybe somehow this dynamic between the hitman and the preacher is ultimately about redemption, forgiveness, and this impact of this contrast of these different characters. And so now then, okay, because I'm a designer, y'all. So I take this, like I told you, I'm taking it down to the lowest common denominator, right? Because then now you say, okay, let's dive a little bit deeper into the hitman. We don't know who the hitman is right now, right? Growing up, I believe the hitman to be family, or somehow family was connected to or behind the hitman, right? So possibly family employed the hitman. But the fact that this story is more focused on the hitman as opposed to who is behind the hitman leads me to believe that there is no actual attempt at redemption, at vindication, at justice, as at reconciliation, at the truth coming out just for the sake of exposing truth. So then we think about the hitman more, right? And I told you the hitman is not someone who is attached to the person that they have the hit on, right? By all accounts, you've never seen anywhere in any movie where the hitman knew the person, originally, and that was the reason for the hit. No, because the hitman has absolutely no attachment to the person, which is what supposedly enables them to commit such a heinous act against a person and feel nothing, because they have no attachment. But the person who is behind the hitman is the one who has the motives, has the attachment, has the reason. They're the one. So why is he focused on the hitman when the hitman supposedly, if this is a different individual, has absolutely no attachment and no reason, no motive other than money to go after my father? So how is this a story of redemption, of these two individuals being at odds for decades, right? Because this storyline went on for decades of my life. So you'd have to say, right, that how did the hitman and the preacher somehow cross paths? Why is the hitman the focus instead of the employer of the hitman? So why is he not revealing, and why is this story not focused on what's behind the what's behind that hitman? Who is behind the hitman? The reasons behind the hit. That's what right now is unclear to us. So as we analyze that, that's part of what we need to be looking for. Why is there a hit? Why is the hitman the focus? Who's behind the hitman? Who hired the hitman? Why did they hire the hitman? And then I would even go further to say, because both of these people are still alive, the man who my father said was behind the hitman and my father. So is this still an issue, right? Is there still a hit on my father? Because now since he wrote a book and he's talking about the hitman and the preacher, is this an expose to who is truly behind the hit? Here's what I think. I think that the spotlight being on the hitman is a diversion. I think it's a diversion. I think the whole point is to make you lose focus. Like magic. Like, he's pulling a magic trick on you. Right? Smoke and mirrors. Look over here and don't look at what I was doing in this other hand. The trick I was pulling in this other hand. That's what this is giving for me right now. So we're supposed to be captivated by the hitman, right? And somehow the preacher still being alive, still being well, all of his kids are alive, his wife is alive. So nobody got killed in this whole story, right? By all accounts, nobody got killed. So is this story an effort to appear that my father is some type of hero that against all odds, that against a hitman following him all over the world, that somehow he was able to preach the gospel, save souls, raise 5 kids, be a husband to 1 wife, and take his kids to Germany twice and bring them back twice and do all the things? Is this an effort for him to appear to be a hero even though he was a villain? That even though this target was on him, even though he doesn't tell us why the target was on him, who's behind the target, if he was really the intended target, because by the cover, was he even the intended target if the target isn't even directly on him? See, these are the types of things that deceivers do not want you to ask. They're thinking you're too stupid to ask. That you are none the wiser than to look at this book and look at this cover, because he really don't care if you read it, honey. Okay? He really doesn't care if you read it. Because the whole point was for him to put himself on the cover, to portray this image that he is somehow a villain and against all odds, against his life being under such an attack, that he is preaching the gospel. Think about it. He doesn't even really promote the book. He promotes the picture. He promotes the image. He promotes the deception. He don't care if you read this book. He doesn't talk about this book in his sermons. This is not a story of redemption by no means, because this would be preach worthy, right? A man, right, who is under such pressure that his life and the life of his wife and the life of 5 children are under attack. And through it all, he stayed faithful to God. Is y'all buying this? And I don't mean like literally buying the book, I mean, like, are y'all buying the story? Are y'all falling for this? Absolutely freaking not. We are not falling for this. So as we continue, as we assess the content, right? And we're going to get into the actual reading. For this video, I'm going to take you all through the beginning of the book, before we get to chapter 1, and then we are going to go chapter by chapter. But I want us to think about the possible motives, right? Think about how we're going to assess this content, and then think about any further questions or considerations that we may have, okay? So first, this is what I want us to consider. And you guys, let me know in the chat if there are some things that I've left out, that we need to consider here. One, we need to consider if the motivation behind this is to distract. Okay? To distract. By centering the story on the hitman, is there an attempt to shift the focus? To either shift the focus away from the individual, the issues at hand, the real story, okay? What is he trying to distract us from, y'all? Then next, is his motivation to discredit other people? So could he be writing this story, putting this story out in an effort to undermine or discredit anyone who challenges or opposes him, aka me? Right? AKA me and anyone else mentioned in this book. I'm sure that, it's possible that he's trying to discredit more people than just me. But for the sake of this analysis, we're just talking about me. Next, is his motivation competition? Is he really just trying to compete with me? Is he just trying to overshadow what I've done, just trying to contradict me? I mean, really, is this an attempt to compete with his daughter? Is his motivation just to continue lying, spreading falsehoods? So does this book continue to lie? And lie about stuff that we've already contested, we've already debunked, but he's trying to reinforce and push certain beliefs and perceptions on us. So as we assess the content, we are looking for events, portrayals, anything that's inaccurate, embellishments, fabrications, lies, all the things, right? Whose perspective is being represented? So the people that he hurt, for example, is this a deliberate effort to distract from those perspectives, to get you to not really think about the people that he hurt, only think about things from his side of the story? Are there consistencies, inconsistencies? Didn't I say I was going to turn this phone down? I forgot to do it. I'm sorry, y'all. And then for our further considerations, I want us to think about the impact that this book has. And I seriously doubt that my father thought about these things. And if he did think about them, he just didn't care, But what about the relationships that may be impacted by this? For instance, you guys saw just by me speaking out about this, my cousins, they what I perceive to be a bit of a chastisement. My cousins chastised me. So not only was our relationship strained while we were growing up because of the stories that my father told me, but now it's being further strained by trying to make sense of the things my father told me. What are the legal and ethical implications of this book? So, does it contain any defamatory content? Has his information been vetted at all? You guys know that he worked through a ghostwriter that is with or is one and the same as my cousin who owns a personal publishing company or whatever publishing business. So was the information that he put in his book even vetted? Like, did they even care? Because I know he didn't. But those who helped him write the book, did they even care about whether the information that was in the book even true? Is there any validity or to the information or any way to verify anything that he put in that book? And then what's the reception? The reception from those who are reading the book who it was intended for, the audience, maybe the people that it's supposed to help. Like, who is it supposed to help? But then, is it even helping those people? Or is this going to further show the dysfunction that we continue to perpetuate in our families and in our churches today? Is anybody being enriched by this? So I don't believe for one second that my father's motives were to expose, educate, and heal. And those are my motives, but those aren't his. And I believe that what we will see as we analyze this book is that everything that all the signs and symptoms that indicate religious narcissism with a bit of psychopathy, with a bit of Machiavellianism, and probably some other things, right? I believe that what we will see is that we have a very clear picture, something that we have never really had before. But we have a very clear picture about how deception really works, the inner webs it weaves, the stories that took decades to cultivate, to make people believe. Because make no mistake, a deceiver plays the long game. A deceiver does not just begin deceiving last month, okay? They didn't just start last month. This has been something that they have been a garden that they have been nurturing. When I tell you that a deceiver will tend to their garden of lies and deception, control and manipulation, the best farmer, best gardener you will ever see is a deceiver who is growing, who has sown lies, deceit, manipulation, and control. I believe that that is what we are going to see in this book. But it's going to take you putting on your discernment glasses, put on your discernment ears, put on your discernment brain, okay? Activate your discernment heart, all of the things, right? Because you need all of the things. You can't just go off of emotion. You can't just go off of the logic that you feel is in your mind. You can't just go off of what you see, and you can't just go off of what you hear. You have to use all of the tools that are in your discernment toolbox. That's what it's going to take. Because your eyes can deceive you, your ears can deceive you, your emotions can deceive you. But when you ask God to activate all of those senses, when you say, God, make my senses on point where I can discern these things, I can hear and I can see and I can feel and I can think and I can know what I'm dealing with. We are given a rare opportunity here with this book, y'all. I really believe that by the time we are even done reading this book, and even more so as we deep dive into discernment, that we are going to be undeceivable. Do you hear me? Undeceivable. Is that even a word? It's about to be, if it's not already. Undeceivable. But you can't get there without discernment. And you can't get there without activating discernment. You've got to activate and you've got to work that muscle. And I'm here to help you do that. And we're going to do it by application, real life scenarios, real life cases, real life people. So I'm going to end the stream here. Like I said, y'all, we are doing a deep dive, okay? Deep dive into discernment by analyzing and dissecting this book, The Hitman and the Preacher. And we have this rare opportunity because I've already written a book about my father. So to hear his response will give you all a very good picture on both sides of the story. Okay? So that it can be easier for you to make a discerning decision. I'm not trying to convince you to be on my side of things or to be on his. What I'm trying to convince you to do is activate your gift of discernment. And whatever decision you make, we can all be comfortable and we can all rest assured that you made the best decision possible because you used discernment. So I will be back and wait. Wait a minute. We're just gonna skim through the first parts of the book. Hitman and Preacher title page, copyright page. Nothing alarming here. All right, nothing alarming here. And then we go right on into the acknowledgments. Now, I will end the video here with the acknowledgments, and I'm going to pick the next video right back up with the acknowledgments, okay? Because I'm going to read it to you, and in the next video, I'm going to break it down to you, okay? So we're going to break it down. I told you line by line, y'all. We're breaking it down to the lowest common denominator. Acknowledgments. I want to thank the person who played a crucial role in making this book happen. Big thanks to Joyce Haddon. Remember the name. Okay? Remember the name. Big thanks to Joyce Haddon for her helpful feedback and guidance. Okay? Helpful feedback and guidance, which really improved the manuscript. I appreciate her support, encouragement. Okay. I'm just being funny, y'all. Encouragement and valuable contributions. This book would not have happened without you. Okay? We're going to end it here, and then we're going to start back up with the acknowledgments, breaking it down, the words that I put the emphasis on, the names I told you to remember. Okay? And then we're going to pick it back up and begin analyzing it. Okay. I love you guys. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Let everybody know, y'all, we are deep diving into discernment. Anybody you knew, everybody you know, right, can activate. And I'm sure everybody can find a lot of helpful information in these videos. But make sure you send it to 3 or 4 girlfriends and be like, hey girl, okay, homegirl, we need to look, we need our discernment to be on point. So let's go ahead and deep dive into these discernment trials, these discernment lessons, so that we can sharpen our discernment. And so that when we encounter people like the hitman and the preacher, right, that we know how to deal with them. We know what churches not to go to. We know who to give our money to and who not to. We know who to get guidance from. We know who to let around our homes and our kids. We know, right? Because we've activated our gift of discernment and we worked that muscle. Okay. I love y'all, and I will see y'all on the next one. Bye bye for now.